And we back.
Oh, I'm Jay.
And now we got Corbin the Comic Barbarian. Wow. You did. I thought it was a family show for the shops. But, I mean, we're going to rear my name out. Urban legend. Oh, my God. Well, we're here. The world needs to get in them comics. Ooh. Way to make a cop out for the whole year, Matt.
I can hear you.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Way to make a cop out for the whole year, man. Can you hear me, YouTube? Can you hear my silky voice? Well, welcome to the Absolute Corbin Podcast. Oh, really? Well, welcome to the Absolute Corbin Podcast. I'm Corbin Ford. With me is Jay and our lovely assistant, Matt. Frankly, we're going to get his voice on YouTube. We are here to break down these comics. So let's get started. Jay, you want me to go first? You want to do the honors? How you feeling?
Yeah, man. Go ahead. If you want to.
Right on. We're going to start with my personal favorite book of the week, Batman Beyond 39. The cover is good. For those who can't see, it's Batwoman by Yon, basically. We still know the identity, and it's been a big part of the storyline the last couple of issues. All will be revealed soon, though. It has been told at the very last page, so we're going to find out hopefully next issue. But written by Dan Jurgens, the art this time was Anaka Miranda and Chris Sotomayor. So they did an amazing job. It's definitely a little different from the artwork that we've been used to seeing this past couple of issues in Batman Beyond, but it's no less spectacular. I love the renditions of Blight, who's the character in here, of Batwoman. It's been really good on that.
Corbin, I don't mean to interrupt you, but guys, give us a thumbs up or not. Hit one in the chat if you can hear me now.
There you go,
Corbin.
All right, of course. The storyline is continuing what it was before. For those who are the uninitiated, someone has the Bat's costume. It's not Terry McGinnis. We're not really sure who it is. It is a female, so Batwoman Beyond is hence the name I'm giving it. People are wondering who it is. So Bruce Wayne thinks that it's Barbara Gordon, which just feels extremely unlikely to me, given how old she would be at this point and just the acrobatic moves and the way she's been able to take down crime. Terry's brother Matt thinks that it's Melanie Walker, who is she was like the Catwoman type replacement for Batman Beyond in the Batman Beyond animated series. She was 10 for the Royal Flush Gang from the comics, from Justice League, Justice Limited, all of those shows. But she's kind of plays both sides. She's been on the life of crime due to her family. However, she's had this redeeming quality that's shown through times. And that's why Terry's brother thinks that she's Batwoman. I have my own theory. I don't think it's either of them, but I can't really spill it right now because I don't want to spoil it for others.
It's a theory. You're not spoiling anything by giving a theory, my friend.
Except I know I'm right.
How do you know you're right?
A spoiler. I'm a dedicated Batman Beyond fan. I'm the Batman legend here. Remember, I'm a serious Batman fan.
Just fucking. See, you got me ruining the show with your antics here. You got me ruining a family show.
Listen. You're right.
It's a family show. You got me ruining it. Spill your beans.
Well, let me finish the story first. So, if anyone's a big fan of the animated series, they remember that in I want to say end of season 1, Blight, Derek Powers, the arch nemesis of Terry McGinnis, Batman Beyond, was seen apparently dying. His ship sank to the bottom of the ocean or river while they were fighting, and he was having a nuclear meltdown and just bringing everything around him down. Apparently, though, he is not dead. He has returned. He has a containment suit, and he is back for revenge. And what I will say I liked about this series a lot is its callbacks to the animated series, which, of course, it should, because it's completely derived from that show. However, the constant shout-outs and little homages there are welcome. And so he's returned. He's here. You have this Batwoman, who we don't know if she's had experience with Blight before or not. Fortunately, her suit has like an Alfred kind of AI, think like Friday from Iron Man, that is kind of telling her, okay, your suit's not built for this level of radiation. Kind of tips and strategies and everything.
It's Bruce Wayne, Selena Kyle's daughter, isn't it? Yeah.
And listen. I'm gonna finish what I'm saying. I'm gonna finish what I started. You already threw me off. See, you thrown off a great review right now. Anyway, the entirety of this comic is pretty much the two of them clashing. And it's really good. Like I said, the illustrations here are amazing. Dan Jurgens did a great job really getting the feel for each character in the dialogue. It doesn't feel overpolluted. It is really nice, well-flowing story. Basically, also, while we're talking about all this, we have to wonder what happened to Terry McGinnis. He had an accident. It's convenient for the writing, I will say this, but he has amnesia. He doesn't know who he is. He's basically paired right now with somebody who's street smart, who knows her way around, who's trying to help Terry McGinnis kind of find who he is. Spoiler for that, she does find who he is and then decides not to tell him. Why? I'll tell you right now. She actually used to be the former partner / lover / confidant of Derek Powers. Derek has this big fight with Batwoman. Batwoman finds a way to damage Derek's suit so that Derek Blight is compromised. So who does Blight call? The only person he knows left. His friend, who happens to be with Terry McGinnis. And Blight basically says to her, listen, I'm leaking out my suit. I need
That's usually what I say when I call a girl too. Hey baby, I'm leaking out of my suit.
A family, remember Matt? Family? Okay. Anyways.
This show's already been thrown off the rails. We might as well let it derail completely.
Okay, well there you go. Anyway, he says I need a human host to transfer myself into. And what does Blight's friend say? She says, oh, I have just the person, as she leads Terry McGinnis there. So all those plot threads are tying right now between Terry McGinnis, finding out who he is, Blight, Derek Powers, seeing Terry again. Who the heck is Batwoman? How does she tie into this? Will Bruce find out? You have all of these threads, and Dan Jurgens has done a great job not feeling like he's been stringing us along, even as we haven't got the answer yet for who this mystery Batman is for, I want to say, 6 weeks now, but it hasn't felt like we've been dragged along. There has been a coherent story that's been going along. We get Blight back, who is, I think, the best villain in the Batman Beyond universe. Hopefully get some more development, some more fleshing out of him. And the artistry is amazing. Illustrations are great. I have one of the covers here. It's beautifully rendered, and I give this a 5 out of 5. Completely love it.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I have a lot of energy for that. I'm sorry. I don't even know
I gave it a 4 out of 5. It was a good story, but it wasn't perfection. It wasn't worthy of a 5 out of 5. But it was a good story. It was good comic for the week.
4 out of 5 is fine. I can't get mad at that.
But so tell us your theory here. You made us wait. It's Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne's daughter, isn't it?
That is one theory I was thinking of for a while. But the problem is this, and this is where, like, I don't.
Or it's Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon's kid.
Mm-hmm. No, because didn't they have a miscarriage? I'm pretty sure
this is Batman Beyond, bro.
Yeah, but if it's based off the same universe, then that would be the same thing. Remember?
Anything is possible.
Okay,
it's their miscarried baby back from the grave.
I mean, okay, I think. Okay, so I was leaning heavily toward Batman and Catwoman. Like they would add a character that we haven't had in the universe. So far, what I've really liked about Dan Jurgens, he's went back to the roots of this and continued to go on with the story of from the Batman Beyond universe. So the characters, if you watch the show in any connection, then you are right on line with the comic series. You don't have too much to worry about. So that's been something I've been a fan of. However, the more I've been thinking about it, the more I've been wondering if it could be a new character introduced just to throw people off so we're not thinking of who we think it is, if that makes any sense. My theory, though, my true theory, does anyone remember Maxine from Batman Beyond? Maxine Gibson, voiced by Cree Summer in the show. Mm-hmm. I think it's her. She discovered a secret identity early on in the series. She's helped Batman in an Alfred-type role. She doesn't really have family to speak of, so she can, at the end of this book, she goes to like a hidden place where she takes off her costume, and you can't really see it. It's shrouded in shadows and everything, which is, again, just perfectly done to kind of keep that mystery going along. But I think that is Maxine Gibson. That is my theory. I think it makes perfect sense. It would still go in line with the original series as far as a character that we already know and is not throwing us a red herring or anything, but it's not someone that's coming to mind immediately. And I think that's fine. I really think that'll be a great addition to the Batman team. And she's already been a part of it. So who else is better qualified to take over that mantle in this role during this time than she would be? Also, the hair is part of the mask a la Batwoman.
I think it's going to be, well, I would hope so, since she is Batwoman.
But no, like what I'm saying is like, it's not like that's her hair. Like Batgirl used to have her hair in a bun through the cowl. It's part of the mask.
Right.
Like it's part of the, so it's not coming out through it like Batgirl would be. I'm saying like, that's not a given, you know?
I mean, I think it's going to be Alicia Silverstone. It's going to be Alfred's granddaughter.
Dude, a family film. Why are you bringing such temptation of Alicia Silverstone into this conversation?
It's gonna be like Alfred's great.
You know how many families she probably broke apart in the '90s in that Batgirl costume? Oh my god! No, I'm playing.
Probably just as many as the bat nipples.
I mean, listen. Anyway.
5 out of 5. I mean, it was good. It was a good read. 5 out of 5 is a little steep for my blood. I gave it a 4.0. But I mean, you're the Batman aficionado, so you just spent 20 minutes telling us before the show how you rearranged your pull box to be nothing but Batman.
I'm all about it. That's kind of my thing. But no, seriously, think about it. And this is why I'm giving it a 5 out of 5, man. Just to give a little more point. Dan Jurgens and this team have consistently pulled out good reads in this series. And this is a time where we haven't really had a lot of that consistently. I mean, you could probably name on one hand the amount of series that we've all read combined, and we all read different types of books that we can go every week or every 2 weeks and go, wow, that was a good read. Wow, that was a good read. And that's what we're getting here. So maybe it's some residual, like I'm giving more of a curve based off the experience of reading it over these many weeks. But that's why, because I'm starting to realize this is the standard now. Like if I get a lackluster Batman Beyond book, I'm going to be kind of shocked because I've been used to such solid, I don't want to say excellence, that's kind of a strong word, Matt, but solid reading, great artwork, a book I can pick back up and go, okay, this was still a good story and it holds up well while continuing. And that's like the quintessential book that we all look for. A story that can tide us over, continue this, ever-flowing story arc, but we're still satisfied at the end of it, yet still wanting more.
Okay. I mean,
that's just my thoughts. I'm fired up today, man. I'm fired up. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey guys, I'm sorry. Jay, I apologize.
No, man. I'm
at the bit. I'm chomping.
You just wore me out right there, son. Like, good Lord.
I apologize.
I'm running on empty as it is, but that just wore me out. You were fired up. I'm
happy, man.
You are fired.
We gotta feed off of Corbin's energy.
Energy, let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, no more.
Gotta tap into that.
Thanks, Jay.
That Corbin energy, huh?
Yeah, we all need some of that.
I guess. Corbin, what kind of crack did you smoke before we started?
No, the vanilla Coke flavor.
No,
I'm kidding.
It's a family show, Matt. It's a family show.
Yeah. Remember that.
What's this crack talk? Jeez.
Sorry, this is carrying over from Friday still. I just, we got a little crazy on the Absolute show, and it's just still carrying over. So, well, you want to go next, Jay?
Sure. One of the books I read was Xmen #4.
Oh, I read that one too. Look at that.
And for a book that's kind of been okay, so I know Matt, you haven't liked it at all since issue 1, but I liked issue 1, and it's kind of gone downhill a little bit for me since then. But #4 was actually pretty good, I thought. It was okay. So I guess the mutants from Krakoa were invited to like a United Nations type meeting with like various world leaders and influencers, and to just talk about future world events and such. And so people didn't think they were going to come, and it was basically just like an olive. It was an olive branch that was extended, and that was about it. It was just a good gesture. Nobody expected them to come, but they did, and they were represented by Magneto, and for some bizarre reason, Apocalypse and Professor X himself came to this meeting, and it was kind of like a very fancy, very
It was like the heads of the Krakoan Council were going
to
this like
but
dinner meeting.
I was still kind of like taken back as to why they would bring Apocalypse of all people, but it's I mean, he's pretty much like a mass murderer, I guess
you gotta
Magneto
think of it though.
too.
They just were attacked on Krakoa. Xavier was just killed and brought back. So they're trying to show a united, strong front, and Xavier's trying to show that you could try and kill me, but I'm just gonna come back, and we're not afraid. And they're bringing their heavy hitters, and they're like, this is how not afraid we are of you. We've got the three most powerful mutants in Krakoa sitting here right in front of you, and
you're
not going to stop us.
So they went to that dinner, and that fancy dinner, and they brought Cyclops and what's his face, Gorgon, as like guards. And so they were in there, and they were, it was tense in that meeting for Apocalypse and Magneto and Xavier. And, they Professor X sensed that there was a lot of movement from like from the bottom floor, but below them, and the top floor above them. And
because they have power dampeners on, so there's power dampeners all throughout this building,
right?
And
but
Xavier
one of the dudes was, what's that? Go ahead.
Oh, Xavier can't read their minds because they've got like these like nanites or something in their heads, and at one moment something happens to where the nanites aren't active, and Xavier is able to sense that there's a team above and below them, waiting to attack them. So he sends Cyclops and Gorgon to go basically dispatch and take care of them.
Yeah, they were like these. Yeah, like you said, there were these power dampeners, but one of the soldiers was like picking at it, or it was like coming off, and so for that second, Xavier sensed that, and was like you said, was able to tell. And so those guys, like you said, those assault teams were dealt with pretty brutally, and in that meeting, they were, the Krakoan Council was treated with some disrespect and some condescending attitudes, and Magneto and Professor X really kind of put them in their place. And the thing that I always thought was the most interesting about this was that Xavier still revealed that he still has the dream of coexistence, which I thought was it was actually kind of cool, because with this whole reboot of the X-Men, you can't help think, well, gosh, here's Professor X, and he basically abandoned his dream of coexistence, so and it's kind of sad. It's like, well, there goes the one hope that everybody had, and even he abandoned it. So what does that say about the future of mutant and human coexistence? But he still carries that dream, and I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that the book, the story flowed pretty well. I liked the art. There was a lot of sharp dialogue, especially from Magneto. That people were asking, well, how do we know you guys are out there on Krakoa hiding? You won't let anybody in. How do we know this isn't, going to be war at some point? And he said, no, this is not going to be war. He said, we're going to do what you people do. We're going to take the money from the drugs that we sell you. We're going to buy your banks. We're going to buy your government. We're going to buy your media. And then we're going to take those that are against us and make sure they have no voice and no power and are basically shunned from society. And that's how we're going to win, if you mess with us. So there'll be no war, but, we'll screw you in the end. But it was great. I liked it. I liked the story. I thought the pace was great. Like I said, the art was awesome. And it was definitely kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, I suppose.
They were kind of trying to call Xavier's bluff too. They're kind of saying we've reversed engineered our drugs and they don't work the way you say they do.
Right.
And
yeah.
Like they were trying to punk Xavier and Magneto and Apocalypse. And I like the line in there where the guy, is calling Apocalypse by all his known names. And he's like, you can call me Apocalypse and that's all you need to call me.
Yeah. You're not fit to call me
my other names. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the thing about these X books is like, this is like definitely the main X title is definitely the most politically driven of all of them. Like if you're going to see like the entire Krakoan Council together, it's very politically driven.
Yeah, it is. But it kind of, I didn't feel like it was too, like it had an agenda, like it was pushed in my face. Did you feel that at all?
No, I felt like it was a good response to the assassination of Xavier with him coming out and saying, look, being at the forefront, he's not hiding in the background. He's not in the back. He's in the forefront. Like, look, you gave me your best shot. I'm still standing. What up?
Yeah.
It's pretty much,
I like that.
It's pretty much what it is. He's out in the forefront. He even takes Cerebro off and he's like, you gave me your best shot and I'm still standing. What's good? And that's pretty much where it ended. And then it shows Cyclops and Gorgon just pretty much wiped out their entire army. So the entire army they had waiting to ambush them. So
yeah,
it was a good read. I mean, for issue 4, it was one of the better issues of X-Men. I feel like that's one of the things that hurts this book is just how politically driven it is. And I think that's why it's taking so long to get off the ground for me.
So it's dense.
Yeah.
To push back though, hasn't X-Men always been kind of grounded in politics?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. But I mean, like this is like where Marauders is a little bit more, they have an agenda where X Factor is more the same way or X-Force, whichever. I always do that. I always do it. Where they kind of push back where it's more
X-Force,
X-Force, where it's more like tactical team driven, or they actually have like Black Ops missions they're going on. This book has been purely the political side of it.
I see what you mean. Like each book has its own flavor, and the X-Men flavor right now is kind of bland.
It's kind of like the X-Men book. The way I see it is the main X-Men book is the political drive, and then your branch off books like X Factor and Marauders, and well, not so much Fallen Angels, but those are the kind of like the repercussions. Like, okay, this is in direct response to what happened in this book. Now we're sending our tactical teams out to handle these issues in these other books.
That makes sense. I get that. Okay, well put there.
But I give X-Men number 4 3.5.
Yeah, I agree. 3.5.
Those are the kind of like. But let me real quick. Let me talk about I Can Sell You a Body. IDW number 1. I picked this up each week. I like to pick up a random one-off that I know, most likely you guys aren't going to pick up. Jay does sometimes pick up the same ones, like Philadelphia and things of those. So I Can Sell You a Body caught my eye. This book kind of, I can be honest
real
with
quick.
you. Sure.
I got a point how you had to make yourself seem so special. Oh, I like to pick a book I know y'all not gonna pick. Jay's different.
Well, no, it's not
That
being
was what they said.
superficial. It's just
What are you
being,
trying to say? I'm
just
too
being different.
tied down on my stand. Okay, I'm just kidding.
No, it's just variety to give us something different to talk about.
Bad joke.
Yeah, it was terrible. You should mute yourself. If Kyle was here, I'd have him mute you. So I Could Sell You a Body. It's a book about a guy who's got psychic powers. He was kind of like this, like TV psychic. He's got these basically psychic abilities to talk to the dead, and he also has a way to, kind of put dead souls into bodies. And from the gist of it, he's being hired by this group of people to try and put one of their relatives' souls back in someone else's body. I don't know. I got about halfway through it and I couldn't finish it just because like the art is really cartoony and like the use. I'm not normally like an OCD person, but my thing in comics is like the use of negative space on the page is a big thing to me. And like this is like someone took a comic book and miniaturized it. Like look at all that negative space there. And it kind of like just drove me nuts, and it feels very like it almost feels very much like it's an like local zine, like you'd get like local artist zine you get off your comic book shelves. I couldn't recommend it going forward. Like I got about halfway through it, and I thought the use of space in the pages were bad. The art in it wasn't very good. And
the humor wasn't even very funny either.
Yeah, you read it?
I picked like you. I picked it up. I didn't buy it, but I picked it up and I read just the first couple pages. And the humor, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Like I was some of the jokes. It just weren't funny. B, I saw coming a mile away, and then I'm like, I'm good on this.
like I was saying at the beginning of the show, like I've been sick since last Friday. So I've tried to read this book 4 times, and I even tried to read it an hour before the show. And each time
it shouldn't
I
be
can't
work,
get
man.
through it. No, it's not.
It shouldn't have to be work.
I was like, I'd rather be like fighting a fever than reading this book. So
wow,
I just, I'm sure it has its audience, but its audience was not me.
Yeah, me either.
That makes sense. Target audience wasn't hit. Like you said, the artwork is a major turnoff in moments like that. That did look a little wonky. I probably would have still read it, but I'm the same person who's turning down some pretty good X-Men because it's not appealing to me. So I'm all about that preference and understanding, hey, it's not your book.
It is not my book. Corbin,
yep, so
I know you've been waiting for 2 weeks to talk about this. So I'm going to give you your spot to talk about this. Tom King's Batman run has finally come to an end.
Yes. Thank you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
So here is your platform to say what you want to say about that Batman run.
All right. So having had discussions with you, Matt, and giving time to kind of look back and maybe turn off my raw emotion, it was worse than bad. It was forgettable. And that is my final thoughts on that. It's one of those books that, I mean, aside from maybe War on Jokes and Riddles, that's one story arc. I loved I Am Gotham. He started off with a bang, in my opinion, and then just kind of fizzled out. The Wedding will always live in infamy just for what it represents. City of Bane might come up as some of the worst storylines ever, especially involving a storyline that has a title villain who barely shows up and then ultimately is not even the main guy in his own story. That's there. So that was a knocks on him. Also, wasn't a fan of the way that they marginalized Batman in certain spots character-wise. Made Catwoman way too much of a major player in a Batman book for my taste personally, and many others. But I mean, I can go on what I didn't like. What I did like, Tom King is still a good writer. I just don't think Batman was for him. I will always hold his Vision run in high regard. That was amazing. Just Batman did not click with what he was looking for. I think he's someone who's best suited for like a 12-issue maxi series. Coincidentally, the Batman Catwoman run that will be coming out this year seems perfect for him, where he has a taut little line where he can develop a story and come to a close and not drag it out, make a big move, don't address it, go on several issues, then address it. I'm talking about the death of Alfred, and it just kind of grind to a halt. Ultimately ending with the book with Batman 86 that was very confusing to kind of get through in terms of how they handled the whole story and the needless retconning of events that didn't occur from the issues we actually read to make it easier to put plot threads later on the story. So all that being said, I just basically ragged on Tom King for about 3 minutes there, but I still think he's a good writer. I just don't think Batman was the right fit for him. Looking back on this, I'm going to remember I Am Gotham fondly. I'm not going to remember a whole lot of this run. I'm so excited to move forward with this. And if anything else, I will give Tom King credit. It gave me a lot of additional insight on other Batman titles to get my Batman fix that have been out. You had Batman The Outsiders. You had Batman Beyond. You have Neil Adams doing a Batman book, which is kind of forgettable in my opinion, but you have it. You have, several Batman stories. I think there was 7 of them to be exact, plus Batman and Superman and 2 others I'm not even reading to look at. And Detective Comics has been strong throughout. So I thank you, Tom King, for giving me the chance to look around and scan the Batman landscape and find other Batman titles that have got my fix for Batman.
So let me ask you this, playing devil's advocate here. So I think it's fair to say that you would say that Scott Snyder's New 52 Batman run is a quintessential Batman run.
I will agree with that. I personally have different taste on Batman. I think Scott Snyder did an amazing job. It's not the Batman that there was certain things, there were certain issues I have with it personally, but yes, I would agree with it. Critically, it's a good Batman run. I can look back on it and while not liking it as my own personal favorite Batman run, can say yes, easy, hands down, last 10 years.
So let's break this down. And Jay, feel free to chime in anytime you want here.
Okay.
Because I know you know your stuff. Scott Snyder, he got to create one of the most iconic new villain groups of the last 10 years in the Court of Owls, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got to do a Riddler story in Batman Year One. He got to do 2 Joker stories in Death of the Family and Endgame. And he also got to do another a new creative character, and I can't think of his name right now. That's how forgettable he was. The dude who planted the seeds. It was like his last villain. Everyone thought it was the Joker.
Yeah, I gotta look it up. You said it was forgettable, and you weren't lying. Geez.
Mr. Bloom.
I know he.
Mr.
Oh,
Bloom.
okay. I was about to say I know he had a way. Him and Tom King as well of taking little known villains and like making them important. Kite Man for him and others.
Yeah.
Do you think it's fair to say that Tom King's Batman run was bad because he was handcuffed from one, being able to be as creative as Scott Snyder was? I don't think he was allowed the same leeway Scott Snyder was with this book. And not being able to use the rogues gallery maybe he wanted to use.
Why would you think that? Why? What makes you think he was handcuffed?
Scott Snyder got 2 Batman. Scott Snyder got 2 Joker stories. If you look at his whole run, who's the main villain through the majority of his entire run? Bane, right?
Yeah.
But is he? But is he?
Well,
no. Seriously,
Bane and Flashpoint Batman.
But that's the problem, and that right there is what you said. It's called City of Bane.
Yes.
And Bane was one of the most underutilized characters of the storyline named after him. He did a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, and then it turns out, oh no, he didn't even do a lot of it. Flashpoint Batman did. So I'll let you finish.
The Bane stuff started at the beginning of the run, though, with the Gotham and Gotham Girl stuff.
Way back at the beginning, yes.
So he got to bring in Gotham and Gotham Girl. So he got his creative characters
some leeway.
there.
And he killed off a main character in Batman's a family, a main character.
But this isn't the first time Alfred's been killed.
Is the first time he's been killed? We don't know. It's the first time that I'm seeing long-term ramifications, moving on this way. Scott Snyder didn't kill a member of the Batman universe that I remember. That was like that.
He didn't. Yeah. But this isn't the first time Alfred's been killed in the comics, so either.
I'm saying, but the gravity of this one's a little different, I'd say.
But
not just a one-off killed for a couple issues type deal or Aunt May type thing.
He didn't get to use, other than War on Jokes and Reels, and that really wasn't even that great. He didn't get to use the rogues gallery that Batman has. His entire run was pretty much Bane. So I wonder how much was set out in front of him. I know nothing about this. This is all purely speculation. I wonder how much was set out in front of him when this transition took over and rebirth came about. They said, "This is what we want. This is our roadmap. Get us from point A to point B. This is who you got. This is who you can use. Go." Because his writing was very different, and it was very tame, and it was very kind of all over the place compared to his work on Vision and
Mr. Miracle.
And Mr. Miracle. It wasn't. I agree with you. It wasn't the Batman we're used to, but I can't say that it was forgettable because he did give us Gotham Girl. He did kill Alfred, which is going to have lasting ramifications moving forward. He married Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne, so that's going to have lasting ramifications going forward. Where 10 years from now, people might not remember his run, but they're going to remember these key events, which he contributed to. So part of me wonders, and I would love to find out how much he was handcuffed and how much leeway did he actually have?
It's interesting.
It is. Jay, definitely give a point, please.
Well, I think you may be onto something, Matt. I think maybe, so you're saying, DC is kind of like, okay, we had enough Joker with Snyder. You need to, stay off of the Joker for a while, and you can get Bane, you can get Riddler, and this is what you have to work with. Go.
Well, I'm saying that because I know from other mediums and media outlets that DC is very protective of the Batman's rogues gallery. There's characters, and they've even said during the Crisis crossovers in the CW, there's characters that DC says you can't touch. You cannot use these characters. And they pretty much flat out said Joker was one of them. Joker is one of those characters that said you can't touch. And now, especially that movie made $1 billion, he's even more untouchable. So
yeah, maybe you're right.
And look at Scott Snyder. Everything Scott Snyder writes, the Joker is somehow involved. His Batman run, he got 2 Joker stories out of that. DC Metal, he got the Batman Who Laughs, and don't tell me that's not a Jokerized Batman. We all know that.
Oh yeah.
Last Night on Earth, Joker is the new Robin. Joker is basically his lead. He's carrying Joker's head on with him, for God's sakes.
I mean, I get it in a way. I'm not gonna lie, that is an interesting thought. My thing is this: I still can't give him a pass on the fact that, for as long-winded as he was, as all over the place his writing was, he wrote as if he had 200 issues instead of 100 issues. And then when it got reduced, he didn't change that. He jumped around even more. It didn't feel like there was a proper plan in place, in my opinion, aside from a few storylines like the ones we referenced. Also, aside from using the Joker, I get you being handcuffed and having to use certain people. I do get that. Maybe not to his fullest potential. But he didn't even use the characters he was given or assigned that way. There were so many different ways. I'm sure we could think of a couple just between us to have developed Bane. Bane's been done in several iterations of Batman. Way more capable, way more cunning. We know who that character is because we've seen it done in other iterations and other comic runs. And he did not give us that. In fact, he gave us, I don't know how he tamed Bane down, but he did, making him on par with Catwoman several different times. Flashpoint Batman with little motivation. I'm saying you can have a bad hand, and you could take a hand and make a bad deal with it. And that's what I feel Tom King did with the characters he had. I get not being able to use the Joker. Boo-hoo, Batman has one of the deepest rogues galleries around. You could have used Mr. Freeze and developed him. You could have taken Bane and made another story onto that. You shook up the core a little bit with Gotham, or could have developed that more. I mean, there were so many different ways. Gotham Girl came, saw, disappeared, came back at the very end. People have forgotten about her already. Oh, now she has a pill. I mean, the way that she was brought in, that concept of having her powers but using it more and more kills her a little bit, that could have been fleshed out so much more, just because it's so interesting. And having that kind of hero-sized villain, dealing with the loss of her brother in the universe of Batman, that could have been used more. I do not think that Tom King had it that bad. I just think that he was over his head and didn't realize all he had to work with. And okay, you can't use Joker, and snap. We're going to use Bane. But then as he goes on, we're going to use Bane.
How much of that falls on DC then? because, when they came out with Rebirth, they were like, all right, we're going to relaunch. We're not going to call it Reborn. We're not going to call it, a rebranding or a reboot. We're going to call it a Rebirth. We're going to relaunch new number ones. Your books are going to be weekly. Here's your roadmap. Give us the first 100 issues. And then over time it's changed. Well, now we're going to go this. And then, now you're not going to get a full 100 issues. You're only going to get 80 some issues, 84 issues. So how much of that did he have to, I wonder, did he have to rearrange and try to change? And it felt like at first he was doing some good stuff with Bane. And then towards the end, it felt like he was getting rushed to where he went back to very fucking Bane. Well, now we're definitely not family friendly, but he went back to very old school Bane stuff where it's break Batman, break Batman, break Batman. And at some point, it almost feels like he was getting some outside force to add more stuff to the button in there with the callback to Flashpoint Batman and bringing him into it. Cause like he kind of came out of nowhere and had no purpose in there. And it just, I don't want to sit here and harp on Tom King and be like, you sucked at Batman. You completely destroyed Batman. Your run absolutely sucked. Like to me, it feels like there's more at play that we're not getting, but I agree with you and you're going to get it from me here. I agree with you. His run for the most part was forgettable. He gives us some good stuff, but mostly it is forgettable. It's not going to be when you talk about the upper echelons of Batman runs, it's not even in the conversation.
See, you say stuff like, maybe the Bane storyline, when they told him he had to chop his run, that maybe that was rushed, but the Selena Kyle thing, there were a lot of issues where you're sitting there going, what? Nothing happened. This entire issue was just them, hanging out at the beach, or it just seemed like it just that storyline dragged. And I don't, for somebody that should have used his the limited amount of story more wisely, man, because that whole Selena Kyle, the whole wedding thing was just, it dragged a lot.
Well, I almost feel like that was supposed to be different. When you read it leading up to it, you feel like they were supposed to get married and that was supposed to be changed. And then it feels like somebody came in and was like, wait a minute, we can't have them be married. Get this crap out of here. And at the end, he had to change it because then he's like, oh, well, now they're not married. But then he came back to it in the last issue and they were married and they're not married, but they're going to act like they're married. So it's like, it's almost like somebody came in and was like, they snapped out of their fever dream and they're like, we can't have this crap. We can't have them be married. Go back to the way it was. And they're now pushing it back to where they're together, but they're not married, But one of the interesting things that Tom King does is, like we mentioned, Vision and Mr. Miracle, he'll take these lesser known characters and make you care about them. He'll make something of them. And, like Corbin was saying, yeah, so he didn't have Joker. But I think Tom King had the ability to take maybe another lesser known villain and make something out of it, something decent out of it. But it kind of seems like he didn't even do that. And another thing that Corbin said I thought was really interesting is that, maybe a long run just isn't his style. Maybe there's some writers that work better when they're a little bit more confined to a 12-issue series, when they can see the beginning, you can see the end, and they can bounce off the walls and make something of it. But when they have, 80 issues ahead of them, sometimes it's it's harder to work with like that for some people. I just kind of wonder, like, because again, this came out of Rebirth. When DC went into Rebirth, they had everything to gain. Like, they were playing Rebirth very, very cautiously. And that's kind of, Kyle and I went to WonderCon when they unveiled the Rebirth line. And I said to him when we went, I was like, they're playing this very, very cautiously. And they had to, because they had so much riding on this being a success. And relaunching as a success, because they ruined their line by Flashpoint was the last good thing that happened to DC. And then coming out of Flashpoint, you had the New 52, and that really didn't work the way they wanted it to. So they were like, we're going to reboot it with Rebirth and going to go back to Flashpoint and erase everything that happened in the New 52. And they had everything, you know, they had a lot riding on it, and their credibility was riding on it. So it almost feels like the handcuffs were on, and like, this is what you got to work with. This is the stories we want. This is what you get us there. This is point A to point B, get us there. This is what you have to use. And they weren't going to give him the opportunity to take a chance or be bold or do crazy things. Like, he had to play it safe, and that's what he did. And now he's getting criticized for it because he had to play it safe.
Well, could be.
I mean, I get you, man. I mean, I just can't fully go with that. I get what you mean. That's a great counterpoint and something to think about. I will give you credit that that's not something I've thought about. And you said it, Jay. There's some more nuance to this story for sure. I just think he was low over his head. And whatever he was given to work with, I think if you had given other writers that same ability, I would have given Scott Snyder that same ability. Don't use Joker. I still would have been confident with the characters that he had, that Tom King was given, that he would have turned out a better story. Same with James Tynion IV. I would have felt more confident with that. I'd give it to several other writers that I feel could have taken that same, let's say, admittedly limited cast of characters and turned out a better product than Tom King did. So I'm with you on maybe that happening. And plus, we can go on DC for a while. DC's made so many issues. There's a reason I call him Dan Didiot instead of Dan Dididia. So, like, there's some things there that we can rag on DC. They definitely have a hand in it. There's no question about that, no doubt in my mind. However, I have to put some of that onus on Tom King. And when Batman is literally your main guy for DC, you have to have better than just, oh, it happened. Mind you, not everyone's going to be a great Batman writer. I understand that. But I'm saying from both sides. You mentioned the Batman-Catwoman marriage. And DC maybe, and I think the same thing. They built up Lois and Clark, going to get married. Oh, wait, no, we're going to kill Superman. Boom. You know, someone's like, okay, we're going to build this, Oh, wait, we can't have them get married. I give that on DC. You're right. I do. Because the problem with that is that DC should have said, okay, you see this building. It was no surprise. Tom King was very clear about what he wanted when he started that project and how that was going. So you shouldn't have to pull blame at the last second on that. At the same time, Tom King's continued reliance on inserting Catwoman in stories that she had no business being in just for the sake of having her and after the wedding, I put that all on him. Her reliance of knowing everything during the City of Bane storyline, coming to save Bruce at several different moments, I put that on him. The end of this, the way that it was resolved, oh, our love doesn't have to be cemented in marriage, I put that on him, especially when he has a series coming out with Batman and Catwoman. The way that was handled, that's on him, in my opinion. But I will say that we're going to look back. Even now, we're having, I would say, a pretty interesting conversation about who's at fault here on a rather underwhelming run. And I think you're right. Matt, you kind of convinced me a little bit. I can't put all the blame on Tom King. And Jay, you said the same thing. And you know, it's some nuance there. But bottom line, I think everyone had their hand in that pie. And I'm sorry, the pie was a little sour.
I just think that we're all pretty knowledgeable in comics. We've been reading comics for a long time. You can kind of pick up on how these writers write based on other story they've written, and you can kind of tell when something isn't right. And I feel like something has been a little off with Rebirth from the very beginning, and a lot of the Rebirth stories. And I think, like I said, they put a lot of eggs in one basket with Rebirth because of how quickly they are to be like, oh, this title isn't doing that well, pull it. Even if it's a good selling title, oh, it's not selling what we want to, pull it. You know, it's just, I don't know. I just think they're being too knee-jerkish with it, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see another reboot from the DC universe in the next 3 or 4 years.
Oh yeah,
if that.
I'm sure. I'm
going to say 2 years, because at some point they're going to want to bring back Alfred. At some point they're going to want to undo this stupid marriage between Batman and Catwoman. So they're just going to reboot everything, and it's going to be like it never happened. So, but that's. I just wanted to give you your opportunity to talk and kind of have that conversation, because I know you've been chomping at the bit to have it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That was good. I think it was good. Therapeutic a little bit.
So who's got the next book they wanna review here?
I think it actually came back around to me when we started, which I'll gladly just pick up and go. It's Detective Comics 1018. So it's written by Peter J. Tomasi with art by Scott Godlewski. There you go. And David Barron on the colors. And you know what? This was an interesting book. Again, I can't say enough how much I've enjoyed having the Detective Comics run, just to be able to look back and kind of have a different look on Batman. In this one right now, Tomasi did a great job of basically showing Bruce after the fallout from Alfred's death and how he's kind of hanging with his dogs a lot, and it's showing more like a caring kind of personal side with the police and with Bullock. That's interesting, but you see Bruce is kind of coming to terms with the fact that, wow, you know, my confidant, the guy I go to for everything, he's gone, Alfred, and I think he's trying to fill that gap with his other support, you know, other people in his support system. There's no Robins in this one. You know, it's really just him and the police. And I thought that was interesting to see him do that. Also, though, there is the introduction, apparently, of a new villain who seems to be killing people through the use of like a ritual type of kill. And it's interesting because I'm trying to look back just to make sure I remember. The name wasn't given, but when Bruce Wayne first comes on the scene, there it shows, you know, him nabbing some crooks, and then he gets a phone call and he goes, "Oh, I have 6 minutes. Approach." And one of the guys is like, "Approach what?" And he's like, "Shush, I'm not talking to you. There's somewhere I need to be." And so he gets there just in time. He gets there home, and he gets home to Ace and Titus, his dogs. And he's like, "Told you I'd make it home just in time." And that moment, and that's what I like about Detective Comics, you getting more of those human sides of Bruce. And it's really, really kind of cool to see. But back to the villain, who wasn't really told a whole lot of in this one, to be honest with you. He's basically hacking people and kind of putting them into like the limbs and pieces of them into trees. Like I said, something of a ritual. They're trying to figure out what it is. Batman is working heavily with Harvey Bullock in it, while also dealing with that fallout from Alfred. And even says, you know, at one point where he throws the balls to Titus and Titus and Ace, he goes, you know, "Damn it, Alfred, damn it all to hell." Like, he's like exhausted emotionally. And I love that Detective Comics has handled the emotional side of Bruce Wayne so well, to the point that the villain who we see at the very end on the classic, "I'm about to attack Bruce Wayne when he's not paying attention. Next time, how the axe stole Christmas." Like, that is the exact like send off, knowing very little about who this new guy is, aside from being able to hack people up. He looks like some ancient mountain man, and that's all we're really left with. But that's fine, because I didn't need that for this one. The action's fine, but I like these more human, slow down stories where I get to see Bruce and Batman's state of mind, Bruce and Batman's interpersonal relationships with his dogs in this case, with the police, with others that are not in this big, bad spectacle of a world that the normal Batman title runs. So I'm okay with it. I would give this a 4 out of 5. There wasn't really much action to speak of, and that's fine. But the artwork was solid. Peter J. Tomasi has done an amazing job on Detective Comics. This was no exception. This is yet another title, the first being Batman Beyond, in which I know that I'm going to have a consistent, solid, entertaining story to keep coming back to on these alternate Batman titles. So for that, 4 to 5. And you know what? A really kind of good story. You could see it starting a new storyline, and that's fine after the one-off that we had from Tomasi last issue. So let's lead into it. Deal with Batman and him overcoming the loss of his mentor, his father figure, you know, his real true friend.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. I really liked this issue, and I've been liking Detective Comics quite a bit. Like you said, the stories are a lot more grounded on this. They're a lot more like organic, and you can see the like you said, exactly, like the human side of Bruce Wayne, and like you kind of get a little bit more of a feel of who he is, and instead of like, you know, the Batman title where like the world is at is at risk, and they're these huge, grandiose stories. And then you got Detective Comics that's just, there's these really good, smaller scale stories. And so, yeah, I've liked it quite a bit.
It's been fun, man. I'm glad you've enjoyed it as well. But you see that love for that is good, and it's refreshing to see. And I don't expect it all to be handed the Batman title. That's fine. I'm not throwing that on anyone, but it's nice to have that backdrop, like you said, and it's really a nice change of pace, and one I'm good with, actually. I could keep going it down as well. As long as the storylines are somewhat competent, keep giving it to me.
Yeah.
What's your rating on it?
Oh, mine was a 4 out of 5.
Oh, you want me to rate it too?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're rating it.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4. I'll give it a 4.
It was a solid book. You can't really go wrong for solid titles. And like I said, and Jay's kind of agreed, it's been that way. It's been that way for a number of issues now. It's consistently been solid, and there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
All right. What you got, Jay?
Well, stepping down quite a bit. I got the new Hawkeye Freefall #1 from Marvel. We're talking about kind of like dopey artwork. So yeah, I usually, if there are characters I'm mildly interested in, I'll pick it up. And especially if it's a mini series, which this is. So the story is about. So it starts out with Hawkeye being like in this warehouse full of like henchmen for this new villain called the Hood. And so Hawkeye, being who he is, doesn't want to let him go. So he follows him, and because he thinks it's kind of like just some 2-bit gangster type guy, but he quickly finds out the Hood is actually a lot more than he thought. He's actually like some kind of like demonic presence when he like tries to back him into a corner. And so there was that, and then then the story cuts into somebody using his old Ronin uniform to kill people, and then Bucky and Falcon come and ask him about it, and there was just I don't know. Okay, so he asked him about it, and he said, "Okay, well, we don't quite believe you, but whatever." And so Hawkeye takes him to where the Hood is supposed to have like some deal go down, and sure enough, the guy with the Ronin armor's there, and basically, I wasn't really impressed. I thought the story was kind of choppy. It didn't flow very well. The writing was mediocre. The storyline was kind of thin, and the art was, it was kind of dopey, a little clumsy and cartoony. Wasn't a big fan at all. I was kind of disappointed. So I'm going to give it like a 2 out of 5.
Wow.
Because at least I was able to get through it. At least it wasn't a chore to have to
That's
read
one of
it.
those stories that I watched one of the Marvel previews about on Facebook, and it looked like the story itself looked interesting to me.
Yeah, I kind of read about it in previews, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look so bad. And then I picked it up, I'm like, oh boy, but oh well. I probably won't pick up issue 2 unless it's a really slow week. Then maybe I will. But
all right, well, I want to talk about one book that was my pick of the week here, which was Donny Cates' Thor #1. Either of you picked this up? Did you pick this up, Jay?
Mm-hmm.
Did you read it?
Oh yeah.
Thor #1 was my pick of the week. I was kind of skeptical. Donny Cates has been doing some good stuff with Venom and the other Silver Surfer Black and the other stories he's writing. So I was kind of skeptical about picking up a Thor book because I've never been a huge Thor fan. I don't know. He just never appealed to me. But this book kind of has a little bit of something for everyone, and I was really excited by it. And I can't wait for issue 2. Basically the book opens up. You see Mjolnir flying through the 7 realms, and it's just taking things out. And you see the Avengers fighting this giant monster in the city, and as they're getting ready to attack it, Mjolnir crashes through it, killing the monster. And Tony Stark and Tony Stark and Captain America are sitting right there, and they're looking at it. And Tony asks, kind of funny, if anyone has a Sharpie. And then it cuts to Thor standing in Asgard, and he's got his hand outreached, like waiting for Mjolnir to come back. And then Mjolnir kind of comes back to him, and you see Tony Stark wrote on a nice shot, enjoy your retirement. So it picks up where Thor is now. He is the ruler of Asgard. He is the king. He's taken his father's throne, and it's cool that he's got his father's birds with him, the ravens or crows or whatever you want to call them. And he's kind of like the protector of the 7 realms now. And all of a sudden, as he's sitting there talking to Loki, Galactus crashes into Asgard. And they're kind of wondering what's going on with Galactus and why he's there. And Thor kind of starts to attack him, and then Galactus kind of reaches out and asks him to stop and tells him that there's a bigger threat coming, and that this threat is killing everything in its wake, and he needs Thor to help him. And as it goes on, they're kind of talking, and they're holding this council. Thor pretty much summons all of the heralds of Galactus, and they're having this council meeting to talk about what's going on. And kind of as they're having this council, out of the wall comes Silver Surfer Black, and he kind of tells the story about how there's this greater threat that Galactus has faced twice in his life now. The first time when he was still mortal before he became the World Eater, and this time where he just barely escaped with his life. And he's talking about how there's galaxies and planets that Galactus could devour, that he's kept hidden from him for a long time, that if he devoured them, it would give him ultimate power, and that in order to fight this being that's coming, they need Galactus at his strongest. And so they make a plan that they're going to go to each one of these planets and kind of evacuate them. They're setting up a team to evacuate these planets for Galactus to consume them, but not destroy, not kill anybody, and consume him so that he can get his strength back to fight this oncoming threat. And as they're going there to make that deal, Galactus kind of interrupts them. They kind of explain the plan to Galactus, and Galactus kind of interrupts them and says, "No, we're not going to do that." He's like, "This entity has shown me my death. It's supposed to show you your death. And the first time I saw nothing, and this time I saw my death at the hands of you, Thor." And he attacks Thor. He blasts Thor. And as he does, Silver Surfer Black kind of agrees to work for Galactus again, to become his herald again. And Galactus blasts Thor, and Silver Surfer screams out in a rage. And you kind of see Thor screaming, and Galactus is like, "Why did you do that?" Not Galactus, sorry. Silver Surfer's kind of like, "Why did you do that?" And Galactus is like, "Well, if I'm going to die and you're going to be my downfall, I want both of us at our best when we fight and finally meet." And when the smoke clears, there's Thor on his knees, all supercharged, and he's very galactic, and he kind of looks like Silver Surfer Black. And he's now a younger version of himself, which looks more powerful, and he is now a herald of Galactus. When that's where the book ends, issue 1 ends. So I thought it was a very interesting premise.
Wow.
You have one of the biggest entities in cosmic Marvel coming to Thor for help. You got a team up between 3 of the biggest entities in Marvel Comics: Thor, Silver Surfer, and Galactus. So it's going to be real interesting to see what happens moving forward. And I really like the big long message, that kind of a love letter Donny Cates wrote at the end of the book. I thought that was a really nice touch. The little preview for the next issue, you see Galactus getting his hand blown off and stuff. I'm super excited to see where this goes. Bravo for Donny Cates for taking Thor and making him a book that I'm super interested to keep reading. I'm gonna give Thor #1 a 4 out of 5. What did you think about it, Jay?
I liked it too, and like these Thor books can either go, I'm either really bored by them, or they're really great. I really liked the Jane Austen Thor run from a few years ago, and I was so eager for Thor to come back, and I'm like, the last couple of Thor ongoings have just kind of been mediocre. I think this is either the second or third time they've redone Thor in a matter of a few years, and this one actually looks pretty cool. Like you said, that it was really fast paced, and it was interesting to see Thor, as the king of Asgard, and he didn't really like it.
He did not look happy at all.
No, he was bored, and he was like, what am I supposed to do now? And so when this happened with Galactus, it almost seemed like he was happy to have something to do, so it kind of like gave him a purpose again. It's like an adventure. And yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about this book. I didn't read anything about it. I just picked it up, and I was pleasantly surprised, especially I had no idea it was going to end the way it did. So yeah, 4 to 5 seems very fitting. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I'm definitely picking up issue 2. It's been a while since I've been excited by a Thor book. So that's exciting to me. It's good news.
I agree very much so, sir.
That's good.
What else you got, Corbin?
I mean, we're kind of reaching here with a book that happened during Christmas, but I just have to kind of vent about it. I'm reaching for it now just so I can hold it in my hands. But I'm going to say it for the people who are listening, audio version incoming. By Marvel. What's coming? I don't know. But you know what? Here's my problem with it. The story, I'm going to break it down to you. It is the Marvel preview for this upcoming year. Here is the issue. I had to pay for this. $10 to be exact.
Yeah.
$10 for a preview book. But it's hidden. It's hidden under the guise of a story, a convoluted plot that you have to read through every page and see how it all ties together. You'll go from the planet Follow, to hours later in another place, and you'll run to all these characters. You'll see Venom. You'll see Hulk. You'll see Captain Marvel. You'll see Nova, Black Panther. You're going to run through all of this as the future begins here. Well, guess what? The future doesn't actually begin here. It begins in the page at the end of the book where they promo the different magazines or comics, that will be coming out, from Fantastic Four 18 to Ghost Rider #4 to Miles Morales #14 to Iron Man 2020 #1. And mind you, this goes on for, let me just count this for you just to help out. 1, 2.
Isn't it? It's a lead up to Marvel's next big crossover event, right?
6 pages, yes. But
Kinda.
not really. It's a lead off in name only. Okay, there's an event coming. That's awesome. This doesn't explain that to me. This doesn't lead off. It has different plot threads, putting that very lightly, with different characters that I guess are going to spin off into their books. But this plot is paper thin. It meanders from one page to the other, and to hope some semblance of a story that doesn't get there. The artwork is kind of all over the place, which is kind of interesting, kind of being just what it is, which I guess is a collaboration here. They try to go for different tones depending on the different book and different characters, and it didn't work. It's like imagining Avengers Infinity War, when they went from one world to the other, and you already had each world had its identity based and its character, and you're like just going around a familiar tour with people that you've watched or been with for a while. This was like that if it was done horribly wrong. I'm not a fan of comic companies doing this type of event book /farce/ cash grab, where they say, oh, this is something you have to get your hands on to understand what's happening. You don't have to get your hands on it, because nothing here is happening in this book. It's a preview book that you had to pay for, and I think that's ridiculous. I like the premise of it, however. If Marvel's preview books were like this, where they said straight up, this is free, We're telling you what's going to come up in different issues. And we're going to spin this in a half kind of baked story that you can at least read and have some benefit for not only seeing, okay, this is what the next books will be. This is something I might look on my pull list, but I'm going to get a page or two kind of semi-sample where I can look at it and go, okay, that's interesting. That I like. You can give it to me that way. You can break up the preview book mold instead of just having a list of books with the price and everything. Incorporate that in the story. Tell a 2-page spread of something. Then on the bottom, tell me the information I need to know for what book I'm going to be looking to pick up. But this trash right here, this ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. I do not like the fact that comic fans went to pay money for this and did not get a book. They got a preview. That's ridiculous, and Marvel has to do better.
I agree, man. There were like 17 different creative teams doing 1 or 2 pages of this book, and so much of it didn't even need to be in there. It was something that should have been given out on Free Comic Book Day.
I would have taken that, yes.
And
that would have been surprising for Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, I mean, if I would have gotten this for free, I'm like, nice. But yeah, $9.99. No. I feel like I was taken.
Yeah. So. I mean, unfortunately, when they got me, I was unaware because I just grabbed my pulls and went off with them, and then saw the price and was like, whoa, I wonder where that portion of my $70 went to. And I realized $10 went to this crap. Yeah, you're right. Like, dang. But you had Donny Cates on this. You had Al Ewing, Matthew Rosenberg, Dan Slott, Jonathan Hickman, Tim Howard. You had these guys on this. And trust me, at the very end of it, just before you get to the previews, each little team is given their proper credit along with each page that they worked on. Mm-hmm. And I could care less, honestly, at the end of it.
It's like it didn't even matter, you know? So, but yeah.
So, I mean, that came out, it's a little late. It came out on December poll, but I had it and I wanted to make a note of this because it was ridiculous. I'm not even going to grade it, but since we are grading comics, I'm going to grade it as if it were a comic. I'm going to give it a 0 out of 5.
Ooh.
0. Trash. Ridiculous. Preposterous. A waste of my god dang time.
I'm going to grade it and give me my money back, huh?
Exactly. I couldn't take this outside in the cold, make a fire, and benefit from it as much as I could with my money back from this god-forsaken book. You know what I'm say? That's my passion there. You don't give it to me like a comic book and expect me to review it like a comic book. There's no redeeming value from it unless you're a fan of some artwork by some of your favorite creators who wanted to get some cash grab.
Well, okay. Speaking, kind of spinning out of your tirade there, I know we got a couple more books to review here. I know I've got Marauders, and I'm sure Jay has a couple. But there's one book I want to talk about real quick. I know it came out while we were on hiatus. But that's the J.J. Abrams, Henry Abrams Spider-Man book that's been out. We're on issue 3. What are your thoughts so far on this story, Jay?
First of all, the first issue, it was kind of shocking, even though it's really not a in current Spider-Man continuity. This is kind of like it's all like a little alternate universe
it's a
type thing.
Elseworld, if you want, story.
And so first issue, it showed Mary Jane kind of pretty much getting killed.
Well, it's not pretty much, she got killed.
Yeah, well, so did she though?
That's what I'm wondering too.
Yeah. Okay, so from what we know on issue 2, yes, she got killed, and her and Peter have a son named Ben, and so then it was pretty much just Ben and an older Peter Parker, and Peter, I guess, just got so emotionally distraught that he's kind of like isolating himself, and he pretty much left his son Ben to be raised by Aunt May, and he's off doing his whatever he's doing, his work.
Well, he gives up being Spider-Man. He gives up being Spider-Man, and he
after that incident
becomes a full-time photographer.
Yeah, and His son grows up pretty much resenting him for his absence, and it's kind of dark and a little bit depressing. I like the villain that they had in the what's his name, Cadaver or something. Basically, the main villain in it is pretty cool bad guy, but the whole thing just is kind of like depressing. And this new issue number 3, they introduced like a young or not young, an old Tony Stark, and he reminds me of like Richard Branson, if Richard Branson had like done way more LSD.
Kind of.
Like he's like a nutty guy, and that kind of depressed me even more. It's like, man, I don't like seeing these crapped out, burnt out versions of my favorite superheroes, you know. And I'm not exactly sure if I even like Ben Parker. He at this point, he kind of just seems really kind of whiny. But it's still got me going. I don't want to. I'm not going to drop it. It's good enough to keep my attention, but it's kind of going in some dark places, and where I don't feel like Spider-Man books have been in quite a while. What do you think?
I'm loving it.
Are you?
I've loved it since issue 1. From all of the boring, just redundant Spider-Man stuff that's out there right now. It is a fresh change of pace. It's a nice, different voice. You know, I love the fact that Peter's missing his hand, and you don't, you know, like I'm more excited about wanting to know more about the world than technically the character, the Spider-Man character himself. Like, I want to know, when you read this issue, I want to know what killed the Avengers. What killed Hulk? What killed Captain America? What killed, you know, Black Widow? What killed these Avengers in this timeline? Why do they have a giant memoriam to him? Obviously, like, it was something horrific if they have a giant monument to them. Why is Tony Stark in hiding?
Yeah.
Why is he in a bunker under the ground
and all cooped
in
out?
exile? Yeah, all cooped out. And why is Ironheart running Stark Industries? You know, like there's so much in this world. Like, I feel like there's so much they could play with in this world, and I'm so excited by the world that we're giving outside of the Spider-Man story.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. Maybe that is what's keeping me going. Is, like you said, I do kind of want to know a little bit more about that world in general.
It's interesting to see, like, you understand that now that Peter's been bitten, he can pass on his spider abilities to his kids. And it's interesting, like, Ben finding that costume and Aunt May pushing him to take up that mantle, kind of pushing him to take up that role, thinking that it's going to bring him and Peter closer, and Peter not wanting him to do it.
Yeah.
They're just having this argument and this resentment, and he kind of drops that resentment for his dad once his dad basically gets taken. And in this issue, he gets stabbed right through the chest, and you think
like
that
Mary Jane did.
Yeah, and you think that he's dead, but then it cuts to Cadaver's lab, and he's like still alive, and he needs him for something. And now you have Ben and all of them trying to go and save Peter. And you know that obviously Tony Stark, he recognizes Ben, and you know they have some sort of connection to each other. Like he's known Ben, he's met him somewhere in the past. Like, there's so many things in this book that I'm just intrigued by, and I think it's the world that it's built outside of the main characters that's got me super intrigued. That there's a lot of questions I want to know more to, and especially at the end when like the cyborg, like zombie Thor and Hulk and Captain America, Black Widow, like, the cyborg Avengers rise up out of the ground. Pretty much like everybody but Iron Man is represented of the core Avengers team, and they rise up out of the ground. And I just think that, like I said, the world building, the characters, the relationships, there's a lot there that keeps me coming back. And like, I've been intrigued since issue 1, and I would love to see more from this world.
Yeah. I like what you said about. I'll agree that as far as Spider-Man books, this one definitely has more.
Chutzpah.
Yeah, it's got more gravity to it. It's got more meat in it, and it's shocking. And
I want this meat now.
What's that?
I want this meat. Just describing it, a little spice, little chutzpah, a little sauce.
Yeah, I mean,
meat on them bones.
The Craven storyline from last year on Amazing Spider-Man was pretty good, but for the most part, it's just kind of been, kind of like tame waters as far as a lot of the Spider-Man books are concerned. But yeah, this definitely shakes things up quite a bit. And there's parts, like Matt was saying, it's shocking. You're like, what? And it's got more meat to it. It's got more teeth. And that's pretty interesting. I'll definitely give it that. So what do you think? What do you think to rate it?
I mean, right now, for the for the world itself, I mean, and the stories that it just gets my mind running, and the stories that I think that could come rolling out of this, and the different takes on the Avengers than we've seen, and I want to see more with Ben Parker as Spider-Man, and I want to see him kind of come into his own story, have his own rogues gallery, and see where this goes. I want to know more in this world. I want to play in this world a little bit longer. I'm going to go 4-5 as a whole, first 3 issues. Just the fact that I keep coming back because I want to play in this world more. 4-5.
Nice.
That's
solid. I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
I think I'll probably give it. I'll probably give it a 4. I don't think I'm as in love with this world as you are, Matt, but it's still definitely intriguing, and it's still, like I said, it's got, out of all the Spider-Man titles right now, it's the one with most teeth. So for that alone, 4 out of 5 for me.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, that.
But do you have another book that you want to go over this week, Jay?
The only one I have is another kind of clunker for me, as Web of Black Widow. Actually, you know what? I don't want to talk about Web of Black Widow. I'd rather talk about Star Wars #1, which was a little bit better. It was written by Charles Soule. So can you go? I mean, geez, Charles Soule's arguably, one of the best writers at Marvel right now. And so Star Wars #1, where the last run for the past few years was between New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Now this one is between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So, and it takes like immediately after Empire Strikes Back. I mean, right when Vader and Luke are fighting, and Luke throws himself off into that pit and comes out underneath that building in Bespin, and the Falcon comes and rescues him, and they take off. And so I liked the book a lot. The writing was really, really good, of course. Art was really, really good. The only thing that I kind of didn't like is they kind of went over stuff that everyone already knows. It was kind of funny because, it showed the parts in the Falcon after on the ride away from Bespin. So Lando and Leia and Chewie and Luke were in the Falcon, and everybody's still giving Lando a bunch of crap for giving up Han Solo, and no one likes him. Everyone's just kind of like, dude, you're a villain. Why are you hanging out with us? Why did you do this? And they bring him back to the Rebel fleet, and he kind of starts to earn his keep, so to speak, but everyone is still kind of not trusting him at all. And so that kind of seems interesting. I hope they explore that a little bit more, how Lando actually gains their respect and their trust from being this guy that kind of screwed over Han Solo to the guy that, you know, helps rescue him. So that's why I like these Star Wars comics, because they kind of take what we already know, and if it's done by a good writer, they'll go in between the lines and explore that a little bit more and kind of give the characters a little bit more motivation, shines a little bit of light in the darker corners. And so far, I think that's what he's doing. That's what Charles Soule is doing. And I have faith in this guy because, like I said, he's a very good writer. And I hope he stays on this book for a while. And Star Wars #1, I'll also give a 4 out of 5. And the only reason why I don't give it a 4.5 out of 5 is just because we kind of went over a lot of what we already saw in Empire Strikes Back. You know, I would have liked to have seen more of the parts that we didn't see. So, yeah, Star Wars #1. It's pretty good so far. I'm excited.
I was going to say that had me intrigued as far as the setting of that, going back and fleshing out that universe, like you were saying, instead of going on a whole new direction, which they probably were kind of hamstrung from to begin with, just given where they are in the movie franchise and everything. But really good that there's plenty of gaps that can be filled out. And to start there gives you plenty of a timetable to continue moving forward while answering a lot of questions that Star Wars fans have had for a while, more than likely, and some that they hadn't probably had and just came to light. So that's really, really good. I'm glad you reviewed that book.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's kind of it answers questions you didn't know you had. Kind of thing.
Yeah, that's how you said it. Yes, exactly. And I get that. I do.
Questions you didn't know you had.
Matt is delirious.
Too much NyQuil.
I'm about to say, good thing I'm out of books.
You're out of books, Corbin?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, then the last book I have for this week is going to be Marauders #5. Jay, did you read Marauders?
I did, but I kind of don't remember it very well.
So in this issue of Marauders, you kind of have you have Emma Frost's brother kind of talking. Him and Iceman are kind of showing off to each other at the beginning of the book, and they basically to sum this book up, they get a distress signal from another ship. Some ships are being attacked, and they get a distress signal from a ship. So the Marauders go to check it out, and it's from Sebastian Shaw's son's ship. What the hell is his son's name?
Shinobi
Shaw's son's Shinobi Shaw's ship. That's a tongue twister right there. Shinobi Shaw's ship. And so they go to check it out, and as they do so, they find themselves in a trap where they're being attacked by an army of Russians that are made up of anti-mutant weapons. And they try to ram the Marauder, and as they're ramming the ship, Kitty Pryde kind of phases her boat through their boat and everything, and it kind of ends with them being attacked. It kind of ends with them being attacked and a new villain making his debut. I'm not really sure what they call him, but he pretty much takes out Iceman as they like board a ship. They're like prepared to be board, and then there's these group of like people in this anti-mutant gear attack the ship, and they take out Iceman. I mean, that's about my quick rundown on this book. I'm gonna give this issue of Marauders a 2.5 because it was forgettable. It was literally forgettable, and Marauders has been one of my favorite X titles. And to say this issue was forgettable is a lot. for a book that was that started off so hot, was hot for 2 issues, then fluttered out, gained steam again, and now it's like fluttering out again. So we'll see how it goes going forward. I'm not ready to bail on it yet by any means. I'm still interested to see where it goes. It had some cool moments where you saw, just when you think Kitty Pryde is at her most vulnerable, and that's the thing, they don't know if they can rejuvenate Kitty Pryde if she dies because she can't get into Krakoa.
That was an interesting concept. Yeah.
But it still shows that Kitty Pryde is still a badass and she deserves her credit where credit is due because she phases the ship through hers. And,
that was a cool panel.
She's still a gangster,
The guy at the very end is Executioner. He's a long-time X-Men villain. He's like a mutant killer, and he, like, all his weapons and stuff. He like,
is that the dude in the hood?
Yeah, that's like beating on Iceman at the very end.
Okay, interesting.
So
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you, man. I read this and I couldn't remember much of it at all. But I mean, I guess they can't all be golden, right?
Right? They can't all be.
No, I was gonna get off.
So what did I give this? 2.5. I think 2.5's fair.
Ooh. All right. I probably gave it a little bit more, maybe just because it's X-Men, and it was a little bit boring, but it wasn't awful. I give it a 3. So
you give it a 3?
Yeah. Executioner is a pretty cool villain, so hopefully more comes of that.
Well, because they don't address him in the pages, so I'm like,
right.
I know the villain. I was like, I don't know, but it was forgettable, man. It was, out of all the books I read, it was like the one that I don't know. I just obviously didn't care for it.
So it was the Tom King book of today's comic.
Oh my god.
Well, I don't know. That might have been the Can I Sell You a Body?
Oh, it's like one of those.
That may have gotten the Tom King Award of the week.
Gotcha. You're a mess.
That's so sad, dude. That Tom King is like 100 times more writer than I am. I shouldn't even talk crap. But
what's funny is that you're right, and yet here I am. No,
that's the thing is that on the internet, everyone's got a voice.
Yeah. And it's our goal to try to get that out. So here we are. But I think you're right. Like, it's funny how everyone, if we're gonna look at it like introspective, how me, not having a writing bone in my body, I'm a big reader, not so much a writer, can even speak on, wow, this isn't really good. You're not a great writer, as if I know what that entails. But then again, the same people think that he's a good writer. It's really weird how that whole conundrum comes up. But I do want to give Jay some credit because I think we do have something now. The Tom King Award.
Oh my god.
We have to make that a thing now here on the on Tales from the Spinner Rack. It's a thing now. Each of us have to come up with a book. Well, we don't have to. I think it's more authentic if we don't. But we have to nominate the Tom King Award. We have to. It's done. Thank you, not Corbin. Thank you.
Oh man. Tom King used to be in the CIA, so now he's gonna come and have my family killed.
He's gonna have a hit put out on Corbin.
If he's putting it on, I'm anonymous enough. I'm hacker. I'm not even put my name anymore.
Hey, if you don't hear from me for like a week, then you guys need to just move out of the country and don't tell anybody where you're going.
Lance has got you tied up in his basement.
Yeah, I'm about to say that's probably the more pressing concern. No, I'm fine.
Right next to Max.
You and Lance are holding hands at the theater while Max is in the middle.
So is anybody excited for any books coming out tomorrow?
I haven't even looked at what list comes out tomorrow. Yeah.
I mean, we got Amazing Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, Mary Jane. You got Excalibur, Fallen Angels, Ghost Rider, Immortal Hulk. Got a bunch of stuff. New Mutants, Spider-Man.
Definitely not going to go to that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Batman 86, obviously.
Oh yeah, man, we definitely got to talk about that.
I'll wait to do that. Batman The Outsiders, Batman by Neil Adams. You have Dollhouse Family. If people have been reading that, I really got to get into that. That's kind of it for me, what I'm excited for.
Oh, 20XX #2 comes out tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Didn't even see that. There you go. some trades and stuff. Oh, they have a giant. I'm a sucker for those giants. Aquaman giant #2. Okay.
Doesn't X come out? The new Marvel X come out tomorrow too?
Does it?
I think Marvel X comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, #1. Yep. Got a bunch of alternates. One by Alex Ross. You got Avengers, Thor.
They're all by Alex Ross. They should all be out. He's the artist for them. So.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the wrong. Yeah. No. Cover. Yeah. Steve Ditko Hidden Gem variant.
Well, I'm sure they've got the homages, but I'm just saying, like,
yeah,
he's the artist in the book. So.
No, I got that. Venom 22. Yeah, there's gonna be a bunch of interesting things. I think we'll have a lot of good reads come next week.
Yeah.
My wallet is crying already.
Yeah, payday's tomorrow. I'm trying to hit the pain real quick before it even realizes it. Boom, we're done. Take that hit, keep it moving, because you're right. We're gonna be feeling it.
My wallet is crying already. So if there's any local comic shops in the Phoenix area that listen to us that want to sponsor us and let us read their books ahead of time, hit us up because my wallet is crying.
We're here. Yeah. We're available. We love talking comics, and we want to go to a store near you. Yeah. Actually, no, we don't want to go to your store. So
and shameless, very many shameless plugs. We can do as many as you want.
Oh, all day. I'm the king of that. My name's
we can all wear the t-shirts.
Follow my mouse cursor. All this area here around Jay, that can all be just have your logos all over it.
Mm-hmm. You pretty much just have my whole picture, just the logo.
That would promos, all of it.
Need a little box for Jay's face.
Find us. Send an email out.
There you go.
Matt, where can they reach us?
You can reach us at right now it's just absolutegeekpodcast@gmail.com. You can even get us at talesfromthespinnerrack@gmail.com. You can find us there too. But yeah, so a lot of great books. So this guy's looking forward to next week. Happy to be back. Sorry we took such a long hiatus, but Christmas Eve fell on a Tuesday. Then we all kind of got sick one right after another, and I'm still sick. You can hear it in my voice. So I'm glad to be back, and hopefully we can be back here every Tuesday night reviewing these comics for you, letting you know what's coming out the next day. Guys, if you're in the chat or you're watching this on the playback and you want to be a part of the discussion, best way to do it is join us Tuesday nights in the chat or leave a comment down below on the video, and I go through each comment and we'll answer them, and we'll have a good time here. That's what this show's all about, and it's about spreading our love for the comic book industry and the weekly readers. So for this week's episode of Tales from the Spinner Rack, actually I want to say, guys, if you like what you heard tonight, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, smash that notification bell so you know when we go live every Tuesday night, and make sure to follow us on social media, and all that good stuff. So yeah, for this week's episode of Tales from the Spinner Rack, I'm Matt.
I'm Jay.
And I'm Corbin.
Saying, remember to support your local comic shop, keep them bagged and boarded, and we'll see you guys next week.